Sophie hit the wall at mile 24, fell to the ground, was delirious, dehydrated, couldn't go any further. And the woman who basically helped her, talked to her and told her, give me your race bib. And she made it her point to take that race bib across the finish line. And she had to break through police security with their consent, of course. But she was an angel that was sent to all of us to make sure that race bib got across the finish line. And she sent us an amazing photograph of it. And bless her heart, there's people that you meet in life that are your angels. And I think she was one of them.
Fantastic. So episode 2 of From the Broker's Desk with Christina Miller. Thank you so much for being here.
So good to see you.
My favorite friend from Westmount. Christina, I'd like to take a moment to say, first of all, you've been an inspiration for a lot of people that I know. Hold on, let me fix this. You've been an inspiration for a lot of people in the industry, people that I know, the way that you run your team. I think the way that you put your heart in everything that you do. Obviously, I don't think anything comes easy. I think there's challenges. And I want to have this discussion with you about, well, what is it that, keeps you going after all these years? How many years have you been in real estate now?
17 years, coming on 18.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like me.
And it's gone by, honestly, so quickly.
Okay.
I truly can't believe it. Honestly, when I started, I thought I would stay in it for 10 years. I started at 40. And I said, I'll do it for 10 years and then it'll be on to the next adventure. But what happens is if you like people and you like servicing the population, then it gets inside you. And you can't quit. And that's what's happened to me.
When you started out, you started on your own.
I did.
Okay. What was the transition? How long did you work on your own?
So I worked alone for just under 2 years. And then a bright young mind in the business, who was a new broker at the time, named Chelsea. She sent me a text message one night and said, I don't know how you're doing it on your own. Do you need some help? And I said, can you start tomorrow? And the next day she was at my home. At the time, I was working out of my home. And we started working together. And then shortly thereafter, I hired a woman who's now been with me for 15 and a half years.
Okay, so I wanted to touch on that. What I find extraordinary is there's a lot of your team members have been around for a long time.
Yes.
In this business, having a team, you see a lot of revolving doors.
Yes.
People that come in for a year, people that leave. What's the difference? Why do people stick around with you?
I think I've always been a person who hires on an intuition, an intuition that we're going to get along well. I'm also an extremely loyal person. I've literally had the same hairdresser for 26 years. I mean, I'm a person who's loyal, and I think that people feel that in me. So if people have a challenge that they're going through or whatever, I'm always going to try to help find a way through it. And I tend to, they say the birds of a feather tend to stick together.
Yeah, they flock together, sure.
Yeah, so...
okay, so the people are loyal to you because you're loyal to them. When things are fantastic, when the market is rocking, everybody's there. What about when things are a little bit more challenging, whether personally or the market?
I think, we're fortunate enough because we have built a solid business that even in the slower market, we're still transacting, so it keeps us busy. But when the market is slower, we certainly just go back to the basics. You go back to calling your sphere of influence, looking for business, because there's always business to be had.
Absolutely.
You go to the old tricks. And they never disappoint.
True.
And then in terms of sticking together through personal hard times, when you've had a team where some people have been with you for 15 years or more, then for sure you're going to face ups and downs together on a personal level. We've had one woman on our team who lost her husband. I've had my own challenges with health situations. And there have been babies born and all kinds of stuff. People leave and they come back, and I'm very grateful for that, Sebastian. It's very, very nice. Recently, we've hired a bunch of younger people in their mid to late 20s, and I love having the young energy around.
Keeps you young.
It does.
Sure. Yeah.
And all of us really appreciate the culture. And
Like a new lease on life for what you've created for the last 18 years. Do you see it evolving for another 10, 15, 20 years?
I think it's going to be hard for me to leave the business.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it too much.
How do you find balance?
That's a very good question. Many, many years ago, my husband said to me, "This is not what I signed up for." And that's actually what led me to build a team. So that we could share the division of responsibility. Because if you are a solo practitioner who's really committed to client service, there is no way you can do everything yourself. They say there's a thing that says if you're doing about 10 transactions a year, you need at least one person helping you. Right? And we do 180, 190 transactions in a year. So you need a group of people to service that business.
So let me ask you, in a higher end market,
Yes,
people are expecting a certain proximity with their real estate agent, with their professional. How do you manage to offer that type of service while having a team, while
so we have a project management based approach to everything that we do. Awesome. Every listing that we take, and even often with buyers, we'll have more than one person assigned to that. So we work in I call it pods, PODS, yes. And we have for every listing, I'm on that pod along with another broker and an internal person who's handling the admin. We always have nice group chats going with our clients, so everybody stays abreast of what's happening. We share feedback with each other and with the client at the same time, so that there's a two-way dialogue or a multi-way dialogue all the time. So people are never left wondering what happened with that visit at my house last week. Did the people like it? Did they not like it? Was it retained? We really aim to provide that circle from the way we start the process.
I guess for those who don't know, you work in Westmount. Westmount is an area where there's I would say a high concentration of high net worth individuals. Let me ask you, how do you, or what would you define as a successful individual?
What would I define as a successful individual? Oof, that's a pretty broad question. Well, it's pretty easy for me. A successful individual is somebody who can put their head on their pillow every night and feel proud of their day.
So that has nothing to do with the person's net worth?
Absolutely not. Listen, most people who've made a lot of money have done so because people keep coming back to them because of a certain element of trust. And if, some less interesting people make it to the top, but we all kind of hope they eventually tumble.
Okay, fair enough. And I guess that would be a reflection of what has been part of the recipe of your success. People come back to you because they trust you.
Yeah,
they trust your judgment in the team that you surround yourself with, in the way that you're going to guide them. What's a common denominator, you would say, in your successful clients, the one that you define as successful? Is there something that they all have in common other than what makes people come back to them?
I would say that most of the people I see that are very successful are higher than average intelligent, well-read, caring and careful, and what else can I say?
Well,
they're gracious, gracious people. I feel very, very pleased when I look back at, coming up on 18 years of real estate sales, that the people I've done business with have, you always find a commonality with somebody. You always find something that you can agree on. And I think it makes for nice relationships. You become a very important part of those people's lives for a short period of time. You know, usually somebody's primary residence is one of their most important assets
sure.
financially. And so you're helping them make a change, either to acquire it or to dispose of it. And you work hard together to make sure that their goals are achieved.
There's a lot of wisdom in what you're saying and how you're saying it, and I think it's a testament of why you're as successful as you are. That being said, I want to go a little bit deeper as to who Christina is, and because we all know the basics of real estate. You talked about being well read. What are you reading right now?
I just finished Lessons in Chemistry, which was a great one. And now it's a mini series, I think, on Netflix or Apple TV. It's a great book. I don't know if you know anything about it, but
I'll have to look it up.
yeah, do. It's got a lot of girl power messages in it, which is kind of fun.
Well, tomorrow we have a women's influential panel, and I'll bring it up. Okay, and maybe a book that's influenced you, or that's I guess maybe changed you or affected you a little bit more profoundly. Or something that you would recommend to an earlier version of Christina, 30 years ago, 20 years ago.
Goodness. I loved Rohinton Mysteries: A Fine Balance, and that's a book I probably read about 20 plus years ago, and I really want to read it again. If you haven't read it, it's quite something. And it really talks about living on the edge of, we spoke about success earlier. Success is in the eye of the beholder. Sure. And so is happiness. You can meet people who have what some people would think have no reason to be happy, yet they have all the happiness in the world, and that's a running theme in Rohinton Mystery's novel, A Fine Balance. It's really quite something.
Do you seek to have balance in your life or more harmony? In other words, not necessarily trying to keep everything on even keel, 25% on all four wheels? Or is that really important for you to say, well, look, I'm going to spend, 20 hours with my family, 20 hours on my business? How do you go about it?
So how do I go about it? I mean, harmony is such a great word. I'd love to have more balance in my life, but I would say that I mostly live harmoniously. I tend to run. If I have a relationship with somebody that is not harmonious, I'll be the first one to say, you know what? We don't need to continue together. It's okay. We can agree to disagree.
Sure.
But let's move on. I don't ever want to have lack of harmony in my life. The most important thing for me is to be able to have sweet moments with the people I care about. And sometimes, that extends beyond my immediate family and close circle of friends to my work family.
Sure.
I mean, honestly,
and people that we meet
matter much, and people we meet.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I am sending such positive vibes out to this lovely young woman who 2 days ago helped my niece who was running the New York Marathon.
I saw.
Yeah. And my niece Sophie was running the New York Marathon to raise money for her uncle in his name who has cancer. And Sophie hit the wall at mile 24, fell to the ground, was delirious, dehydrated, couldn't go any further. And the woman who basically helped her, talked to her and told her, give me your race bib. And she made it her point to take that race bib across the finish line. And she had to break through police security with their consent, of course. But she was an angel that was sent to all of us to make sure that race bib got across the finish line. And she sent us an amazing photograph of it. And bless her heart, there's people that you meet in life that are your angels. And I think she was one of them.
I think that's a great analogy to say also in our personal lives in this marathon, how do we keep running sometimes when the race seems impossible, when we're on the floor and delirious? What are some of the angels that you have in your life or that you've had that help you go on?
Oh my God, I think we're really surrounded by all kinds of angels, and you can meet them in any way. Oh,
Too many to name.
too many to name. And as you know, we've had a rough time in the last year with my husband being sick. So it's been, a real, sorry, I didn't expect this.
Okay.
There have been angels everywhere.
What you were saying, which, identifies and defines a successful successful person, is their ability to care, to be gracious. You've basically described yourself. And in my eyes, no, it's true. You're such a loving person. You're an amazing person. You're a great woman, great mother, great wife. And so it's awesome to share these moments with you. We met in a very serendipitous way with a few walks. And it's crazy, there's
We
people...
met thanks to COVID. Sorry to cut you off.
Merci, COVID.
Thank you, COVID.
People say everything happens for a reason. I like to say you make a reason out of things that happen and try to seize opportunities where other people don't see them. Your relational skills are clearly, I think, on point. And I think that's super important for anybody in business, more than the transactional skills. But I'm going to ask you two questions. If you can go back in time and tell Christina Miller something when she was 20 years old or 25 years old, what would you tell her?
It's so funny because the thing that I think about is something that doesn't matter and wouldn't have changed my life. But when I was 20, I was living in the south of France. And I left a year later, and I wish I'd stayed 5 years because, it was a beautiful, beautiful time in my life. And there was no rush to get back and start your more serious career. And that's advice I give. I am a mother of 3 daughters.
Yes.
And I tell my kids, use those wings of yours. The world is a beautiful place. Montreal will always be here.
Always time to do an extra transaction or an extra whatever.
Yeah. And I really believe in seeing parts of the world and not feeling like the place that you were born and raised has to be your forever place.
Exactly.
And you can also have a feeling of home and community in many different places.
Sure.
My husband and I lived in Toronto for 8 years. We lived in France. We lived in England. We've now been here for longer than any of those other places. And but a piece of us is in each of those places.
That's amazing. So spread your wings and...
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, and now, see the camera there?
Yes.
I'm going to be using this over time, and I believe in posterity. What would you say to yourself in 10 years from now?
Yeah.
What do you hope for?
Ooh, these are big questions.
Yeah. We can talk
what
about
do
the
I
market index and how long it takes to
in
sell.
10 years.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope that I am surrounded with wonderful grandchildren.
Okay.
And happy people in my life.
Happiness.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. The good news is this. We're going to be doing this more often. I love sharing with you, and I think people have a lot to learn also to hear you. And, God willing, and with this new team that we're working with, this is going to be a common thing, and it's been an absolute pleasure and an honor. However, for the next time, maybe we can actually get down to that backgammon game that we've been putting off for 3 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to practice.
Awesome. Christina, thank you so much.
Nice to spend time with you.
Always.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.